Welcome to Women on Identity Conversations in Midlife. I'm Lana Jean Tejas, writer of Worthy and Wild. I am an educator and lifelong student of what it means to lead ourselves well. So, through my writing, I explore identity, health, purpose, and the quiet work of creating a life that feels true to who we are, not who the world expects us to be. So these conversations are an extension of those articles that I have written from women all over the world joining. I'm so excited to have two here tonight. But those articles, alongside with the lives, it just gives us an opportunity to dive deeper, hear real stories, and learn from women who are navigating this season with honesty, courage, and wisdom. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And I'm excited to share tonight's conversation with you all. Every week, we explore the questions so many women are quietly asking themselves. Who am I now? What matters most? And how do I create a life that actually feels like mine? And tonight's conversation is one I think so many of us need. What does success actually mean, right? Because I think many of us spend decades chasing someone else's definition. I know I did that. We worked hard, cared for everyone else, checked all the boxes, and somewhere along the way, we stopped asking whether the life we were building was actually the one we wanted. And so tonight, we're talking about what it looks like to redefine success, not by society standards, but by our own. And so I am super excited to welcome two incredible women to tonight's conversation, Manny and Tina. And rather than me introducing them, I'd love for you to hear directly from each of them. So, Manny, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit tell everyone a little bit about who you are, the work you do, and what inspired you to start writing on Substack. And then we'll have Tina join after.
Sure. First of all, Lena, thank you so much for having me here. It's always incredible to share your life journey and learnings with other because I always believe somebody somewhere is thinking to talk, waiting for that idea and waiting for that chance. And some of us women have that opportunity and privilege to be present, be their voice, and help them come up. So hi everybody, I'm Manny Grewal. I am in corporate tech for almost 2 decades now. I started my journey with master in computer science, and after being an engineering manager for a while, I switched to corporate product leader vision because I always wanted to see top down how the products are formed, how do we learn our users, how do we understand the expressions and intents. And while I was building my career out there, I met a lot of folks on my journey who did not have that opportunity or who also wanted to grow into the same career, and they didn't have the outlet. They didn't have the mentor, and I wish I had some kind of mentor back 2 decades. So now I stepped into being that AI educator, coach, and community builder. I'm trying to be voice of all the females out there who are into their career switches or who pause their career life to look after their family and they are rebuilding their life now. I am here. I am listening. We all belong here, and that's what inspired me to be on the Substack. I'm on a mission to educate 100,000 of you this year to get back on your jobs, to get upskilled for free. That is what all my publication is all about.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Tina, I'd love for you to do the same. Just tell a little bit about yourself, the work you're doing, and what inspired you to start writing on Substack.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Lena, and great meeting you, Manny. So for me, I started writing on Substack this year for the third time, and incidentally, this time I stuck with writing versus the. Actually, no, this is the fourth time. I've given up three times before. I wrote once and I disappeared because it was crickets. I didn't know how to navigate the waters, what to
Yeah.
expect, despite being a growth marketer myself. But when it comes to marketing myself, it's a challenge. Let's just say that. And so, from a professional standpoint, I've also worked in tech and for about 12 years, doing various different roles at sales, marketing. So, overall, like 18 years of work ex. And then I'm mother to wonderful daughter who also studies in Washington D.C. and now she finished her freshman year, and after she left, I'm now an empty nester. So what I call it, I'm now writing my volume 2 my way, and it's just it's just that I'm more wiser. I have gray hair, which is now colored, and and I have glasses, so I can see even better than I did before. And that's who I am. And what I write about on Substack is about consistency, um, about I'm in my late 40s now, and pretty much the first 40 years of my life, I used to start, I used to stumble upon problems, I used to give up, life is difficult, so on and so forth. But after Corona hit, I said, this is not how it's going to work out. So I started investing in myself. And when I started doing yoga, meditation, I learned German because I lived in Berlin that time. So I'm hoping that none of you can talk German because I'm not good. I don't remember much of it right now. And, anyways, I tried to do a lot of different things and I figured out how to get consistent and how to get through the early challenges. And since then, I mean, now I just have to think about what I want to do, why I want to do it. And because you now know the reps and the systems and how to make it fit into your life and your context, it's much easier to be consistent. I wanted to share that with many people. So I started writing on Substack. I tried telling my friends, they said, Tina, you should write about it. I'm like, okay. I didn't think it was that important. But again, this is the story of external validation to saying somebody has to tell you to, oh, you have something worth to say. Why don't you go ahead and say it? So that's how I started. And thank you so much, Lana, for getting me here. I really
Oh,
like it.
yes, no, I love that. And I love hearing the stories behind why women begin sharing their voices, right? Like, it's always fascinating to me that while our paths are different, there often is a common thread, this desire to make meaning of our own experiences and hopefully help someone else along the way. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's both of your stories, right? I think that's one of the things that makes Substack such a special community. Um, I love it. I keep hitting my microphone. Sorry. Um, so tonight we're talking about redefining success, and I think so many of us grow up with the definition that was handed to us either by our
Yes.
families, our cultures, right, our careers, or just society in general. And at some point, though, like you guys just mentioned, we we start to wonder, is this my definition? And so that's where I'd love to begin our conversation tonight. um, I'd love to start with something simple. So for both of you, I'll have Tina go first and then Manny. So when you hear the word success today, what is the very first word that comes to mind? And then you can expand on that if you want to.
For me, success is about a feeling of happiness. So I would say joy and happiness because previously I've had success to be defined as, oh, I need to get X amount of marks, I need to top my class, I need to get a promotion, I need to get a raise, I need that designation. And then I've realized that you get it, you get happy momentarily, and then you have a new idea of success. So I think now I've just rewired it to, am I happy? Do I feel excited to move on to the next level? Because the definition of success for me just keeps evolving. And recently, my daughter was here in the summers. For me, success was just getting a full conversation with her at 19, right? That's like,
Yeah.
that success was
Yes.
something else. And
Yeah,
that somehow seems far more harder than any other challenge. So yeah, that's mine.
mhm. Awesome.
Oh, that's
Ma-
beautiful, Tina. I have a 9-year-old and I have a 12-year-old, and I am just stepping into that you have exited. So I thank you so much for sharing that mother's side of it, parental side of it. But yes, it's beautiful journey. Lena, to share my viewpoint, yeah, stepped into my 40s, and as I will piggyback on what Tina shared, what it was and what it now. I will start from now. Now success is using my voice, who I am. When I started, a good career, a respected title, authority, full calendar, the reputation of being dependable. I spent years building products,
Yeah.
leading teams across the shores, solving problems, helping organizations and corporate grow. From the outside, it really looked full, successful. People were appreciating, everybody was celebrating. But then there was a point when I realized I had become very good at building things for everyone else while slowly disconnecting from the parts of myself. And that I wanted to create, teach, write, and lead in totally different way than, like, I just wanted to go back to who I was. And
Right.
I was really surprised about myself that the shift was not dramatic. And there was not just one big moment that made it happen. It was a series of quiet realizations. The things that once motivated me didn't feel meaningful enough longer, you know. The goals I was working so hard towards no longer felt like enough for sitting and enjoying those. I wasn't failing, I was kind of evolving. As Tina said, there's a phase of evolution when you pause.
Mhm.
Today, the success looks very different to me than in my 2 decades last. I would say success now is having freedom to build more that reflect my values, who I am, using my voice for others, giving it back, and helping other people navigate who are stuck or confused, navigate through the change, especially women stepping into new chapters, new technology, new careers.
Mm.
Success is waking up to that feeling that uh, in the life I'm creating, rather than just performing about life, and
Mhm.
that like just looks good outside. uh, that is the version of success I'm becoming, and I have started learning to trust it.
Wow, I love that, and I already love that those answers are they're different. I think that's the point, right? Like success isn't one size fits all, and maybe that's one of the biggest lessons of midlife that we finally realize that we get to define ourselves however we see fit. I love that. So, Manny, you wrote something that really stood out to me. You said that you used to ask, how do I get ahead? But now you ask, what do I want to leave behind? Which I absolutely love. That's a really profound shift.
Yeah.
What changed inside of you that made you start asking completely different questions like that?
A couple of things. First, I had to acknowledge what I was looking for, not the roles or job shift, not the career switching. The
Right.
goal was still there, but the energy wasn't anymore. Okay, I almost reached to the director level, then I became a founder. I navigated a couple of wheels here and there, but after a little bit of time, that feeling of connection was missing. Then I realized I had spent years asking, what should I do next? I was seeking for
Yeah.
permission from people. And then instead of asking, I paused and I sat down with a notebook, and I just put in some raw bullets over there. What do I actually want to do next?
Mm.
And I had to release that identity of asking permission. I was scared to ask, I was scared to raise my hands. People may get offended, people may misread me, or
Mhm.
I may not get that opportunity because somebody else was in the line from years. And even though sometimes you have the caliber, the skill set, the energy to contribute and push up the corporate, there are visible and invisible strings that hold you back. And I
Mm.
had to release that identity, I would say, of being the woman who always had to prove herself. many women still carry that
Right.
identity for decades,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have been there, right? And we become the achievers, we become the caretakers, we become the problem solvers, the perfectionists. And
Right.
at some point I had to let it go. I realized I don't want every decision to come from proving my value. I wanted it to come from expressing it. So that's where it I had to sit down with a notebook, put down those bullet points, and actually make a decision to live on my rules than always seeking permission. So
Yeah.
in a
I,
nutshell.
yeah. No, I love that. I think so many women reach a point where external achievement stops satisfying
Yeah.
something deeper in us, right? It isn't that ambition disappears, but it does. I do feel like it changes direction. And yeah, you said that perfectly. I think, Tina, your story feels connected, but from another angle. Um, you realized perfection wasn't even your definition, right? But it was something you'd absorbed. And I think so
Yeah.
many of us can relate to that. What finally gave you permission to stop chasing perfection and start, shipping your work before you felt ready? I can attest to that. But just kind of expand on that.
Sure. So before I come to that, like I also forgot to introduce myself, saying that I also run a consulting business where we do behavioral science consulting for corporate clients. So I have been studying human behavior for a very, very long time and having to understand why people do what they do. And sometimes they say they will do something, but actually end up doing something else. And how does that translate to corporate goals and outcomes? For me, human behavior has been so fascinating. For me, it was like, okay, I'm able to do that for corporates. How does it apply to my life, to life of women, life of human beings at different stages in life? So, and that's how I started getting into understanding habits. Why am I? So, there are thinking habits, there are doing habits. You do yoga, it's a doing habit. You're thinking that, oh, I need validation. That's an identity based habit that you've already. So, we have to kind of unlearn that. And for me, perfection, it all started with when I was like, I wrote in my perfection article that, it was when I was in my early 20s, a creative director, gray haired uh, person in the room, authority. And he was like, I go to him with a piece of paper saying, listen, my client is waiting for an approval. And are these copy lines correct? And I was in advertising. And he looks at me and says, Tina, this is not perfect. And somehow I carried on for the next almost 18, 20 years. And every time that voice used to be in my head, like, Tina, this is not perfect. Not knowing what is the definition of perfect? When do I know I have reached there? And it took me so much time in life. And that also meant that it is not perfect. So I also didn't voice myself in tables the way I felt because somehow others could. So, and then soon enough, when I moved into a more doing things myself and I was not accountable to others, I realized that I was like, it's not perfect, it's not perfect. And I wasn't shipping anything. I was only, so for me, it was perfection is nothing but procrastination dressed in a pretty dress. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, I'm going to start shipping things as they are. So I created my own system of shipping things. What is the one thing I ship today? What is the one thing I ship in the week? And that kind of worked. That also is how I got out more articles on Substack, and I'm still here running a public experiment on what it takes to be consistent. And that is how I it was how I took in what perfection really means and how I'm moving from perfection to like let's ship it. Yesterday I was making a logo for my Substack publication. It's completely meddled up. And I was like, is it yellow? Is it green? No, it's not looking perfect. And then I was like, Tina, Ship it.
Yeah, I love
It
that.
never leaves you. It's a
No,
ghost.
yes, but we learn, I think, with midlife, right, to readdress. And yeah, I hear something really interesting between both of your stories. You know, one of you stopped chasing validation, the other stopped chasing perfection. Different journeys, but both requiring, letting go of someone else's expectations, and we all have them.
Hell
And
yeah.
so, for both of you, this question, and we'll have Manny and then Tina. Why do you think women struggle so much to give themselves permission to redefine success?
It's such a beautiful and a brutal question, Lena.
Yeah, I agree.
I, I would say, okay, I will attempt. As Tina said, yeah, in my head, I'm trying to put bullet points to be a perfect answer. I don't want it to be. I will let it out. So, yeah, I would say the conditioning. That's
Mm,
how my mother's mother was raised. My mother was raised. My
right.
husband's side of parents were raised. My cousins, my like all the aunts. So for women coming from immigrant family, at least in West, I saw it differently. I flew differently. I learned it differently. But coming from immigrant family back in South Asia, I had different strings attached on how women should perform. Luckily, in my family, my father was one who would let me ride motorcycles, who would give me the key of his Jeep to go ahead, give it a try, go to college with your friends. That's fine. Life is about experiences. But around my own other families, the expectation, the conditioning was, hey, you're not supposed to be out after 7 p.m. You're not supposed to be loud. You're not supposed to be laugh loud, right? Everything for girls, the conditions that we set up, the fear, the permission. Did you ask your parent? Did you ask somebody to do this? Did you ask your teacher to give your name for the article or anything, right? For
Yeah.
boys, we never asked that question. It was expected, oh, it's okay. They will be back by 8 p.m. That's fine. I understand the concern and the care behind it, but somehow, subconsciously, we are feeding it in girls' brain that you are expected to act in certain way, obey the society, listen to others, nod your head, and keep moving.
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore. In fact, I am teaching my little girl, 9 year old, to be the girl boss respectfully. I don't want her to be the tough cop, but I do want her to fly. And she doesn't have to live with the strings or the childhood trauma I had. She never asked for it. She, like, she is growing in society where she can do what she feels like. And that is how the girls should be raised. In
Yeah.
my recent discussions for pulling up girls in STEM, I saw girls after puberty, after getting in high schools, after getting a certain age or experiences, they were dropping off from technology, from sports, from medicine.
Yeah.
Who is responsible for this? Who is feeding in their brain? Society, right? Subconsciously, families, relatives, friends around, everything. But that ecosystem is conditioned to train a woman, a female, in certain way from childhood. So that is what happened with me as well. But by the time I had my two kids, thankfully my husband is very liberal and he wants me to be the tomboy I always was. And he said, you don't have to hold back your voice. If you are able to help some girls go flourish, why not? Go ahead, go public. And I want all the girls to be public and vocal now. So Lena, that's what I experienced and I'm sharing, and I'm not crafting it, and it's not perfect, but yes, that is how I am, why I am, when I was conditioned. I broke the boundaries. Not everybody liked it. People still have their opinions. How can you do
Right.
that? Doesn't your family ask you questions? Aren't you looking after your kids? Aren't you supposed to cook when you're posting? How even you're writing on Substack and YouTube? Where do you get this time? It's my
Yeah.
time after office hours, and my kids are mature enough to understand 1 hour a day. Mom needs her me time to stay mentally healthy, and this is my zen. So you have to
Yeah.
create that ecosystem. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. I love that. And I always say, like, I feel like that is, might get emotional. Like, that just hit me so hard because I feel like that is our legacy. You know, every time we are willing to step out, you know, share our voice, share our story, it kind of opens the door for someone else to do that. And so, yeah, I'm, we just need more of us out there doing that. That's awesome. So, Tina, what about you? Why do you think women struggle so much to give themselves permission to redefine success?
I think Manny kind of said it pretty much like everything she was saying is like,
Perfectly.
yes, check. Yes, that check. Check.
Oh no.
But it just says that, we all have similar stories. And I
Yeah.
think the threads and the themes are pretty much the same despite the geographical boundaries or the cultural. I think I come from India. And for me as well, at least the time that we were raised was a completely different time. There were expectations from the girl, how she dresses, how she looks, how she conducts herself, what she speaks, what she doesn't. So somehow, I think as you were raised from that perspective, you're like, okay, am I allowed to speak this? Am I allowed to do that? Can somebody validate or give me permission that yes, Tina, you're correct? And also our education system was like it's either right or wrong. There
Mm,
is like my daughter studied in IB school, and they had such wonderful way of teaching that there's no right answer, right? There's only your point of view, and how do you nurture that? And
right.
those are just conditioning and the way we were trained, and that trained our behavior. It all comes down to what our behavior has been, how and what part of that we are taking forward.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add from what Manny really said, because it's a very similar story for me too.
Yeah. And I keep thinking, like, how many women, because of all of these expectations, are, we're still incredibly successful on paper, right? But just that quietly, and not so quietly sometimes, exhausted, right?
Yeah,
Inside. There's such a
yeah,
disconnect and a
yeah.
disservice. So,
But I would want to add one thing. I look at my daughter, and she doesn't have this baggage. So I think
right.
one thing we should be proud of as midlife women is that we raised girls the right way. We
Yeah.
raised them like whatever we are discussing, she won't understand because it's not a place she came from.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are that generation that's leaving behind these belief system, these ridiculous questions. Can you validate? Did I do it right? Do I need permissions? All of that is history. So I think that's a place to applaud and be proud of, because that's a war that we won.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And,
So,
and
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, just to piggyback on that, we often think courage means starting something new. Somebody will come become the savior. Sometimes courage means allowing those people to misunderstand your choices while you are building a life that is more authentic to yourself for your own peace.
Yeah,
You
Absolutely.
will never know how many people you take along when you are paving this way. So that's how I am seeing it. When people reach out to me in my DMs, I get goosebumps. Oh my god, did I really do that? So I don't know how many lives I'm touching, and unless until somebody DM me and say, hey, I am so inspired, I want to be like you, I want to start this thing, I don't know what to say. But I feel so proud that even
yeah,
one woman we can uplift, that is a change.
yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. So, Tina, you talked about in your interview, you talked about compassionate consistency, and I know you touched on it a little bit here tonight. And I absolutely love that phrase. Can you explain what it means to everyone? And I know you
Sure.
touched on it a little bit, but because I think so many of us believe consistency means perfection, like you mentioned, just explain what you mean by that a little deeper.
Yeah, for me, compassionate consistency means co- we're already, as women, we're hard on ourselves, and I know a lot of men also are hard on ourselves. The definition of perfection is not our own. We know we have internalized it from outside. Compassionate, and therefore that's the kind of expectations we have subconsciously set on ourselves, that if I have to say wake up at 4 a.m., I have to lose 50 other things. Of course, consistency has trade offs, but you can do it in a very compassionate way by being kind to yourself, by observing your behavior, by saying that it's okay if I fail today, it's okay if I didn't wake up at 4 a.m., let's say you want to wake up and you snooze the alarm. Try it again tomorrow. Compassionate consistency means you're coming back the next day so that you're allowing yourself to be kind to yourself, to say that, okay, I am living a full life. My life is busy, but I can still grow. I can allow myself the space. I can give myself a hug and be compassionate to myself. And to be very honest, I have been on both sides. I've been very hard on myself. I may have become consistent or I may have become successful, but I wasn't happy. And at the end of the day, if you're not if you don't feel joy in your heart, you're not going to radiate that, and others are not going to feel it. They're not going to be happy around you. And it was also, again, personal experience. When the mom's unhappy and when the woman of the house is unhappy, we have a very irritated, angry house. So, um, so for me, it has to start inside out versus,
Mhm.
getting my nails done. I get a momentary kick. Oh, look how pretty my nails are. But then at the end of the day, you come back home, you're still unhappy. But when you're building something with compassion, you are allowing a space which is filled with love, positive energy, and a lot of color versus you're
Right.
successful but sitting in a dark room and really sulking.
Yeah,
So it's growth with love and kindness.
I love that. And I just have a quick follow-up. Has there been a moment during your 365-day experiment where you wanted to quit? Or how has that been going for you?
Oh yeah, I actually just published on Monday my half yearly review. Like I started, for those who don't know, I started this experiment this year, chasing what does consistency look like in a busy life. So I started tracking my habits. I have made it very, very public. I have a public dashboard. I could do that because of AI. So I'm tracking all the numbers so I don't have to number crunch it anymore.
Right.
So I have that dashboard public, and I make it very, very clear. Like I took up a course which was sitting in my inbox for like 3 years, and then this year I said Q1 March I'm going to just, because I had a deadline, so I had to finish it. Otherwise, I'd lose access to the course. I finished it. The course got over. I lost it. I thought I would continue learning, but I did not. And there are quite a few habits which I'm very public about. I think it's about knowing that there's a time for everything. And there's also, is that habit serving you or to who you're becoming today? And there are some habits that the timing's just not right now. I might want to do it end of the year. I might want to pick it up later. But that doesn't mean you failed. The
Right.
old Tina would say, Tina, you failed, you started something and you gave up. No, I didn't give up. I didn't give up. I'm just
Mhm.
taking a pause, and I will pick it up when the context is right, when the stage is set, and I'm ready for it. But there are a lot of things I'm doing. So it's also been the habit of seeing things in the right way and seeing things that, look what I'm doing right versus, but there's also this guilt. Am I getting, my mom used to say, Tina, don't get overconfident. So that also had the
Yeah.
opposite effect of like, even when I'm confident, I'm thinking, am I getting overconfident? And then that spilled over to the other side, saying that, so I'm not feeling confident. I shouldn't be overconfident. So therefore I shouldn't speak up. Therefore I shouldn't do this and so on.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's such a powerful reminder. And I love how you were saying, like, progress doesn't require perfection. It requires returning, but it also reevaluating, like you were saying. Like, so I love.
Yeah.
And so for Manny, you said something else that really resonated with me. You wrote, some seasons are for building and some seasons are for becoming. And I'd love for you to unpack that.
Yes. Uh, First of all, Tina, you covered that beautifully. And with every line, I had that bubble thought in my head. Oh, yeah, you don't realize, because I do not forgive myself when I miss something. And you need that courage to accept it. So I'm taking that lesson home. Coming to the seasons, Lena, one thing is trusting myself. When I was going through this journey, I'm still going through this journey. It never ends, right? I may learn something in 2026 that I may not like in 2027, and that's totally, absolutely fine. And during this journey, one was, if I am disappointing expectations, I accepted it. We often, as I shared, sometimes courage does mean to let people misunderstand you. That was one of my season of change that paused me, that pulled me back, and I had to trust myself. Then I stopped waiting for the certainty in that season. For years, I was just thinking confidence was very, very, very important, and it always come before the action. But when I started actually doing it, accepting, respecting, and implementing my thought process, that confidence comes from keeping that promise to yourself. That's how I could resonate with Tina. Like, you have to keep that promise to yourself. And
Yeah.
every time I wrote something, I published something, I taught something to anybody, or started something despite being scared, afraid, I built that evidence for myself that I could trust myself. I started from 0 subscribers, 0 followers, 0 readers, but there are people who want to listen, who want to hear, who connects. So the season one for disappointing others to trust myself, that was the season of change that landed on me.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And it feels especially true in midlife, right? We spend so many years building careers and families and identities, and then suddenly life, does
Yeah.
ask, who are you becoming now? So yeah, I love that. So I would like both of you to respond to this question, if you would. So you both talked about perfection and redefining success. Do you think women have been taught to earn their worth through achievement? Or what are some thoughts on that? I mean, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but
Taught in the sense of how we are conditioned to behave in the situations.
yeah, I mean, however you interpret it, just how we earn, or have we been taught to earn our worth
Yeah.
through achievement? Yeah.
Yep, yep. When you start, maybe I'll go ahead. Sorry, Tina.
Sure, sure. No. Thank you.
uh, when I started my career, fresh out of college, the expectations were to perform, to reach somewhere. Nobody would hire you. Hey, you have visa constraints, and then you have experience constraints. Then,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we cannot sponsor. That's fine. But starting from zero, even new grads who are going through these challenges, it stands true even after 2 decades. Same challenge, different faces, different hats. Uh, what I would tell myself uh, for change through achievement, many of us were taught to believe we should always have a plan, a timeline, a performance, and perfectly mapped next step. it was always expected, especially from women, because we always have to prove where numbers, analytics, logics are being discussed.
Right.
Somebody may not even look at you, that you may know the answer, but you're not expected to chime in. So some of those important transformations happen before the path actually, you pave the path or it becomes clear. If
Right.
something no longer fits, honor the truth. Don't worry, you do not need permission to evolve. That's what I'm learning, and I'm very vocal about it. I'm sharing through your way, Lena. You do not need to justify your growth. You do not need to become who you were before. Trust the version of yourself that is emerging with you, even if you are freshman, even if you're new graduate, even if you are that scared girl in the corner who knows the answer but is not raising the hand. Don't worry, you got this. So you may not have all the answers yet, but you will very soon, even before you think, when you can. Sometimes the bravest thing, in my opinion, as a woman, is to stop abandoning yourself long enough to hear your voice again. Don't
Yeah.
let people run your life. I have learned it very hard way. And yes, the achievement is very directly connected, Lena, to how we were expected to perform, and it still stands true. I'm still seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Manny, I agree with everything you said. From my perspective, I think it is true for both men and women. And I've lived in the US for 5 years, and I completely understand firsthand what it is like to, go through the visa queue and all of that. Um, Having said that, I think my husband just works as hard. He has to, earn the trust, the respect. I think it's not a gender question, but women have to just do it harder. For us, everything is harder than what it has been for everyone else. Why is it harder? I think that's the important question that I'd like to unpack. One is bias. We are facing bias right opposite the table. I have a friend who is head of analytics, extremely talented. But analytics is a field which is immensely dominated by men. And she says that, I go to the interview and I feel it. I can feel that, I'm being compared. I'm not being, there's a doubt on the other side that is she credible? Can she handle a team of, so many people? Again, more men. Um, the other thing we are battling is societal mindsets. The
Yeah.
way our society has been conditioned to look at us. Oh, she just delivered a baby. Can she give her given the best? I have another friend who's just delivered a baby. Extremely good at her work. She used to work in my team, facing the same issues. And we're in 2026. Come on, you
Yeah.
can't ask these questions anymore. And
No,
you
I know.
cannot even think that. So I'm giving you the permission
Yep.
to let go of this thinking habits.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about that. And we need more of these conversations and platforms, Lana, that you're creating. And I truly, truly appreciate it. For me, had I not been part of these conversations, and had I not heard of these reports and research studies that were published, my bosses, even male bosses who talked about it and gave us a stage, I would have been the same old self loathing. Oh, I'm so bad. I'm not confident. Oh, I need permission from my boss, my colleague, my husband, my mother, my daughter, and the
Right.
stranger on the street.
Right.
So without those conversations, we can't undo the conditioning. We can't at least make some way forward in the bias. And of course, at a national level, if we can get some more support, I think that would be fantastic. Because that's what policymakers should ideally be doing, and that should impact corporate suggestions, corporate decision making, which we made some progress, but in the last year, it's undone with many political,
Yeah.
Right.
uh, impact. We know what we are talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how I see things. And when you have the internal awareness, and then that comes out in your words, in the way you present yourself. I was in therapy once because after I had lost my parents, so I was going through a very hard time in 2020, and also that was the pivotal year where I switched to watching habits and how that shapes me. um, my therapist told me one of the most beautiful lines that completely flipped the way I see myself and built my confidence. He said, Tina, so I was going to present somewhere. I'm like, they asked me to present, and why would they ask me? I mean, what do I have to share? I have nothing to share. I mean, they know it all. What if it affects? And all these horrible doubts that I carried in my head. It's like, Tina, they are asking you to present. They are asking you to share because you have to present yourself. They want to hear you, and
Right.
you have an idea of what they want to hear. No, present yourself. So every time I have a doubt, I just, through my writing as well, right? I keep reminding myself the new habit I'm building is I'm presenting myself. Somebody can agree, somebody doesn't have to agree, but this is who I am. And this is, I'm presenting myself. And that's all I do. I hit
Yeah.
publish and I then don't look back.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm such a great conversation. Thank you both so much. So I'm going to switch gears a tiny bit, or maybe not, depending on where we go with this. But what has been the hardest identity to let go of?
Wow.
Identity in terms of the person. I think for me right now, more recently, it's been being a mom. I thought it would be fantastic when my daughter left. I mean, not emotionally, but in the sense that, suddenly there's so much space, and there is, I can do a lot of things. It felt like I could do this, that, 100 things, but it left such a empty space in my, no wonder they call it empty nester. But it felt like a part of me just disappeared. um I love the idea of writing my volume too, but the way I look at life right now, it's just so different. Like my daughter was here May and June, and I literally dropped everything. I mean, I published my half yearly consistency report. Sadly enough, the graph is going down. And now I'm hoping from July it'll go up. But that's what I was referring to, context, like, respecting your life,
Right.
respecting these different phases, like the phases of the moon. It changes. You have a full moon someday, you have no moon someday, but it will come. Full moon will come, new moon will come. And just knowing that some days there'll be light from the full moon, some days there'll be none. That's okay. And I would say it's just trying to embrace the empty nester identity, though it's a horrible term. It feels like life is empty. It's not.
Right.
But I think that's a habit of like 18, 19 years. You've been a mom, you've been there providing. There's been someone who's like, Mommy, Mommy, this, Mommy, that. And I think I miss that.
Yeah. That was a hard one for me too. What about you, Manny?
Oh, yeah, I think Tina covered part of it. Yeah, I'm not in the teenage years yet with my kiddos, but yes, I am not ready for the emptiness. No, never. Maybe being a mom, parents, yeah, I'm fine. Like two parents, we talk, but being a mom, I don't think I will ever be ready. Never. But yeah, one thing I shared briefly earlier. Uh, I had to release the identity of being the woman who always had to prove herself. Whether when I was a bachelor, I was in school, I went to college, even I joined the first job. I was asked like, "Hey, do you know how to do this?" Even once. my work team, they were flying across the continent for work, and I was questioned, why do you want to go? I don't think you're needed over there. But then this client in France called to get me on the plane. They wanted me, because I was leading the team. They said, like, okay, if she's not coming, I don't think we have any business here. So somebody else fighting for you who do not even know you, and somebody in the home, like, they don't trust your instinct, they don't trust your ambition or winnings. That
Right.
makes me sad. I want to leave that all behind, and I want to release that identity of proving.
Yeah.
Many women still carry that identity for decades because somebody had asked them constantly, daily, every day, to prove. And instead of becoming achievers and problem solvers and those caretakers, I think at one point we should respect our own self, and than just proving every time. So I would
Right.
say proving my value versus expressing my value is more important for me than ever. I don't mind kids running around. They are still home for summer. That's fine. But they know this is my 1 hour with Lena. I already told them. They respect that. And I'm happy with this identity of becoming me.
Yeah. I love that. I do think that's something that we don't talk about enough. Growth isn't just exciting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's grief too, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes we're saying
Yeah.
goodbye to versions of ourselves that
Yeah.
served us for a
Yeah.
long time, like you're saying. Yeah. I
Lana,
love
what
that.
is it for you? I would love to
Yeah.
hear that.
Oh, God. Definitely motherhood, that empty nest. Like, I don't like that word either. I even though my kids, I have a range of 5 kids from almost 25
Wow.
to 40. So, I've been a mom a long time, so that does hit you hard, but I still see my kids a lot. So it's not as hard as saying goodbye to them in another country. That's
Right.
different. Yeah, I think for me it was just like you said, Manny, that hiding, just letting go of those expectations, I think for me has been a huge one. Like there are still things that I struggle with in midlife that I feel like I shouldn't anymore, but just doing things because I feel they're the right thing, not because someone else says or that expectation of me, that at this
Yeah.
age I should be doing, I wrote an article about be reasonable, and having the courage to be unreasonable. I think that's the big one for me. It's like
Love it.
it's
Love
about
it.
our life, right? What we
Yeah.
want now. And yeah, that's a hard one. I still wrestle with that. But thank you for asking me. But so okay, for the last question, well, the second to the last, I should say. I wanted to do something a tiny bit different with you two. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions that I just want one word answers for.
Okay, that's a tough
Okay.
one.
I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
And so we'll have Tina and then Manny. And
Yeah.
for
Okay.
all of them, we'll just go back and forth. Okay. So success today is
Joy.
Voice.
love that. Joy looks like
Freedom.
Homecoming.
nice. Something you're saying no to.
Old self.
Oh my God. Many things. Sorry, I don't have one word for it.
I
But yes,
know.
uh, unexpected expectations for sure. Yeah.
Mm,
Good
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then something you're saying yes to.
Volume 2. Uh,
Change.
Woohoo. Awesome. All right. So for my final question for you guys, I can't believe the hour has gone by. Like it's
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
right.
Flew by.
I love it. So I always ask, I like to end with the same question because I think it's the heart of this series is if there's one thing you hope another woman hears tonight, maybe a woman who's questioning her next chapter, what would you want her to remember? And Manny and then Tina.
Let me steal my one word and uh, don't be hard on yourself. Midlife is not identity crisis. It's just your identity homecoming. Accept, respect, and move on. You have to take it on.
Yeah.
For me, oh, sorry.
Yes,
Uh,
that was it.
Okay. Okay. So for me is, I was talking about our behaviors, right? The behaviors we do are facts. How we show up for ourselves is another kind of behavior. The only request I have to all the women is please keep the promises you make to yourself,
I love that.
just as you keep it for everyone else.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Um,
Yeah.
and the way you do that is by doing one tiny behavior that serves your promise.
Yeah.
And that is all. That one promise kept will lead to a second promise kept. Like if you see my tracker, I don't say I have shown up for my habits. I say these 2000 some 400 promises kept, because every tiny behavior that you're building towards a new behavior, a new habit, becomes a promise kept, which means you're building evidence towards your inner demon, otherwise known as your inner critique. And you will see how the tables turn and your inner guide will suddenly become louder. But we have to give the inner guide a stage first. And that starts by keeping your promises to yourself first and then others. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the only thing I have to say, because
Wow.
I have
Love
changed
it.
this year.
Love
Yeah.
it.
The only thing that is amazing. Yeah. I I have to say I have allergies, so but I am literally like misty-eyed also. I mean, you guys are amazing, like really beautiful. Everything you guys have said has been so profound and I am going to get emotional, but I just really appreciate both of you so much. Like you are such amazing women and I just thank you so much for doing this with me. What I keep coming back to though tonight is that success isn't something we achieve once, right?
Yep.
It's something we redefine over and over again as we grow. And maybe the real question isn't, as you guys have said, it's not, am I successful? Maybe it's, am I building a life that feels true to who I am today, right? And so thank you for spending this hour with us. Thank you to everybody. Such a great turnout. I'm always so grateful when everybody joins the lives. It means a lot to all of us who get on here because this can be scary, right? Doing these lives. So we really do appreciate your support when you join, everybody. It's really awesome. Um,
Indeed.
if this conversation resonated with you guys, we'd love for you to share it with another woman who might need to hear it. Please go and check out these amazing women and subscribe to their Substacks. I'm going to have the links in the replay. And until next time, I always say be present, stay curious, and lead with gratitude. And remember, you already have everything you need to begin. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
joining.
you, everyone.
Thank
Indeed. Thank you,
you.
Manny. And thank you, Lana, for creating the stage. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you,
Love
guys.
the
Thanks,
conversation.
Tina. Great to
Really
connect with
beautiful.
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Yeah.
Have
Bye
a
bye.
great evening.